What It Takes Radio Company, connecting you with your audience. Another edition of the Transformation Zone Conversations with Stan Houston and friends. Hey, today, how do you make sure that the AI robot is not smarter and better than you? That's certainly a transformation project and conversation for today. Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, this is Stan the radio man, maybe Stan the transformation man. Maybe that's a wish and an aspiration rather than a reality. But I love the little picture here that Kevin Deli has put together for me. Obviously, all of us are kind of, somewhat in the dark. It might be kind of pretty or nice, but wouldn't it be nice if maybe we could make the move and kind of make the step through the doorway where there is something different, something that's light, something that's you make me feel brand new way of thinking, to actually see if we could have a transformation in our life and in our business, maybe even in the world that we inhabit, and maybe in the greater world, thinking big about what the possibilities might be. And on Friday through the weekend, Joe and Kevin and I are putting together our thoughts about the transformation that we might seek in our lives. Here's what I would like to do today, just as a kind of a thought experiment, all right? Thought experiment. And we can go from there. But here we go. What I would like to do is carry on with what Joe has very much, I now call him Bro Joe here in the South. We call him Bro Joe. Okay. What he has said might be one of the old keys: healthy, wealthy, and wise. All right. Well, that has got me thinking a lot, because what has happened is that I've always been somewhat in the business of what I call DWI. That's right, the DWI business. And no, that's not. That does not mean that I'm in North Carolina and I've been doing the moonshine and I'm intoxicated. No, it has nothing to do with the moonshine legacy. It's not driving while intoxicated. Heavens knows. Hopefully I'm not ever that stupid. Sometimes we all might be driving while we're distracted or under the influence of something else, and we better be careful about that. But it means demonstrated wisdom and insight. I oftentimes say to people in business today, I say, don't tell me what you do. Demonstrate how good you are. Demonstrate some wisdom. Demonstrate some insight. Now, we're putting together a program that I may get all of us to join in, and it's called Unbreakable. And that's been suggested to me by not only a friend, but my Stash the robot. Unbreakable is how we can enter into the AI world and, as the title said, being beaten by a robot. How to not be beaten by a robot. Is the robot smarter, faster, more creative? It's a lot of those things. How can we be different so we will not have our life and business and our career broken by a robot? We'll be thinking about that and talking about that. But here's what happened. When you're as old as I am and you're experimenting like I do all the time, you come up with ideas and you put them down and then they get lost. And I've got scads of things like that. I recall the story that we heard when that illustrious musician from Minneapolis, Minnesota, right near where I lived for many years, Prince, had that terrible fate of, dying early because of his intoxication addiction. But the story is, that there is still in his studio and in his archives, there are perhaps hundreds, maybe thousands of musical pieces that he performed and never published, never promoted. He was like me and you and some of us. He had his studio, and it was just as easy for him to step out of his house into his studio, and the way he lived was to be not necessarily performing for others, but performing for himself. Now that's a key, performing for himself and what pleased him and what made him happy. And a lot of that work, he just, kind of put in the file or left it on the machine. It'll be interesting to see what might happen from that. I oftentimes think of my hero, Van Gogh, who, $1 million painter, but, he only sold one painting and he died broke. But he painted for himself and for his brother. And yeah, life is full of such deep and wonderful ironies and paradoxes. And that's part of embracing that, which is a part of what we're about. Now, this is where I'm going with all this, okay? I actually wrote down what I called the 7 wisdoms, and I was taking off from, the Lawrence of Arabia book, Lawrence of Arabia, who's it was a real guy, the 7 pillars of wisdom. And I thought, well, what are the pillars of wisdom? If I want to be a wise man, not a wise guy, we got plenty of wise guys, don't need any more. A wise man, maybe even more a wise gentleman. That would be one of my higher aspirations. What are the 7 pillars of wisdom? So would you just write these down and think about them, and then I'll have Stash the robot kind of compile them, and later on we'll send you a little summary of this little talk with the 7 pillars of wisdom. Here we go. The first is we got to make some money. Yeah. And so we have to find a vocation. We have to find something to do. A job, a career, a vocation, something that we are called to do, able to do, skilled to do. We have to make a living in some way. We have to live and make a living so that we can live. Well, how do we get the wisdom to make good vocational decisions? Because we're going to be making a number of them. The age of the person starts a job, and 42 years later they get the proverbial retirement. Those are changing things. Well, that leads to one that sometimes I'm not very good at: financial wisdom. No. Now, once we make money, how do we keep it? How do we spend it? How do we use money? What will allow us? What goes into financial wisdom? Think about that. How about political wisdom? Now, that is a double-edged meaning. First of all, how do we make good choices about the hundreds and thousands, maybe millions of people who are seeking political positions in our world today? How do we make decisions about governance and leadership, political power? How do we do that? How do we get that kind of wisdom? But also, we oftentimes say, well, plain politics. We think of office politics or corporate politics. Politics is basically a power game. I've lost a number of those games in my life. Maybe I was too nice or too stupid. But How do you learn how to survive and thrive in the power political games, both corporately, relationally, and in the world itself? Political wisdom. How do we do that? Then, most of us don't have the luxury or the desire to become uh, hermits, just walk off into the desert, walk totally off the grid and disappear. Not that we would want to, or even if we could, we wouldn't want to, because I think we're made for others. That's what Albert Einstein came to the conclusion, a kind of a great theory. And uh, now that he had the theory of relativity and what that meant, of course, that was the big deal. But later in his life, he's trying to figure out maybe he could learn something about the meaning of life. That would be nice to know. Supposedly, he discovered that we are made for others. And that's not relative. That's real. Well, we are caught in all kinds of relational wisdoms. In fact, one of my friends who did a lot of work in translating the Hebrew and Christian scriptures into modern language, Eugene Peterson, said that really the essence of wisdom is knowing how to relate to others, how to do that well. Relational wisdom. How are you doing on those four? You're pretty good at them? All of them? Moral wisdom. Oh, right and wrong. Do you believe in such a thing? Do you believe in morality? Do you believe that there are things we should do and things we shouldn't do? Well, where do we get the wisdom to make moral judgments? And how big a part do they play in the lives we intend to lead and live? Moral wisdom. The last is, as some people would say, one of the most important, spiritual wisdom. I am one who will very much subscribe to, and it's obviously and controversial, the idea of Teilhard de Chardin, who says that we are not human beings who are possibly having a spiritual experience, which we people talk about that. Most people are religious, whether they know it or not, in some way, if we properly understand what that's all about. But he said, we are not human beings who may have a spiritual experience. We are spiritual beings who are having a human experience. And if you believe that, think about it. It changes everything. Changes everything. Well, what does that mean? And there are lots of people who take absolutely no interest in the idea of spirit or transcendence or life everlasting or any of that stuff anymore. It is the world as it is, and that's it. There's nothing else. Eat, drink, and be merry, for tomorrow we die. And we will die. We will. There we go. What I would like you to do, and this is my request, I would love to hear from you. Because this may be the guide to the transformations that we seek. And as I say, remember, and I go back and forth with my colleagues, that it's not just about models and frameworks and things like that, which are all important to our understanding, but oftentimes transformation is a result of choosing heroes or of heroic journeys. It's about songs. It's about stories. It's about shows. And I'm very much convinced that part of what we need to understand is the power of the show, the power of the hero, the power of music, artistic expression, those kind of almost what I want to put. What term do I want right now? Those things that often escape us, but are right there with us. You know, the old pop song, "You Make Me Feel Brand New." What does that mean? How does that happen? West Side Story. There's a place for us, a time and place for us. Hold my hand and I'll take you there, because there's a place for us. This land is my land. God gave this land to me. Songs, stories, fables, legends, heroes, spirit stuff. Do they also play a part in the world that we're seeking to build? Or as one of my friends and colleagues has said, we're not in the business of trying to change the world. We're perhaps in the business of trying to create a new one. A new one. What do you believe about that? Hey, I'm done. Maybe I was done before I finished. That's happened before. But I want you to think about these things. And let's see what the robot has to say about my little escapade today. And I would love to hear from you. And now you can reach me either way now. StanHouston@gmail.com. But since we are now part of what everything is under What It Takes Radio, because today all business has to have a streaming video, audio, radio element. It does, or we will not survive, because that's the media of choice. So it's Stan at WIT, WIT radio.net, like a network. So StanHouston@gmail.com or Stan at witradio.net. Always close with a benediction, because I believe in that. So all the best and blessings to you. If you're on a horse, ride tall, stay safe, do good work. Just do good work. Small things. Whatever you do, just at least make it good. And occasionally, you'll then achieve a measure of greatness. Till next time on the Transformation Zone, we're waiting to hear your conversation. So all the best. Till next time. Bye for now.